Hello and welcome to Kakaaki, the African Voice on Africa Independent Television, AIT. I am Adora Sydney Jack. Well, a mixture of negative reactions have trailed the continued captivity of students and teachers and, of course, toddlers after a coordinated attack on 3 schools in the Orire local government area of Oyo State on May 15. The Nigerian Union of Teachers declared an indefinite strike in Oyo State on Monday and announced plans for nationwide solidarity rallies to press the government for the rescue of the kidnapped pupils and teachers. Well, that solidarity is coming, as in the next hour or so, the Nigerian Union of Teachers in Lagos State and other civil society groups will participate in the protest against the continued abduction of teachers and students. Now, correspondent Shola Taiwo will be there for us, and we will be joining her during the program for an update on the protest. We'll still be talking politics again today in our second discussion, that is, as the National Democratic Congress NDC Vice Presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwakwanso has dismissed reports circulating on social media that the party is planning a protest over the worsening insecurity in the country. In a statement issued on Monday, the former Kano State governor described the claim as false and misleading, insisting that the party would pursue its political objectives through the ballot box in the 2027 general election rather than engage in activities capable of disrupting public peace or leading to the destruction of lives and property. Now, according to him, the circulation of such reports appears aimed at creating unnecessary tension and confusion among citizens while also misrepresenting the party's position on national security issues. Now, Kwakwanso reaffirmed the NDC's commitment to democratic participation and even pledged that the party would continue to engage Nigerians through peaceful and lawful means ahead of the 2027 elections. He said the party was becoming better positioned with each passing day to make meaningful impact on the lives of Nigerians through the ballot box, as opposed to creating unnecessary tension around the country. Well, the NDC over the weekend announced that it will release the results of the party's primaries held nationwide on Thursday and Friday last week, and adding that the list of party candidates will be unveiled that same day. In a statement signed by its National Publicity Secretary, OSA Director, the party asked the public to disregard results said to be making the rounds on social media, describing the alleged results as fabrications aimed again at misrepresenting the party's position on issues. Well, where have all these stories been? I mean, that have described as fake coming from? Someone would ask, is there no iota of truth in any of the stories, really? Because they say half-truths from the grapevine. And after the primaries, what is the Nigerian Democratic Congress's next move? And these are some of the questions to be answered by the spokesperson for the Kwakwansia movement, who recently affirmed vice presidential candidate of the NDC, Habibu Saleh Mohammed. And he will be with us, telling us really and perhaps answering some of these questions and if there is any iota of truth to some of the statements. But that will be just much later in the show. But in the meantime, remember, you can be part of the program by sending your views and comments to all our social media handles on Facebook, on X, Instagram, and YouTube at Africa Independent TV. So you can stay up to date with the latest news from around the globe. So let's go to the news desk and bring you the first beat of our news on Kakaaki World News. This is the world news on Kakaaki, the African voice. Now, the United States has moved to tighten restrictions on exports of advanced artificial intelligence chips after concerns that Chinese companies may have accessed them through overseas subsidiaries. New guidance issued by the Commerce Department expands licensing requirements beyond mainland China.
The updated rules target high-performance processors made by leading chip manufacturers that power advanced AI systems and data centers. Officials acted after concerns emerged that overseas branches of Chinese companies may have continued purchasing restricted technology. Industry sources suggest large volumes of advanced chips may have moved through countries hosting foreign subsidiaries over the past year. Analysts argue that access to such hardware could undermine Washington's efforts to limit China's ability to develop cutting-edge AI capabilities. The policy shift follows earlier decisions not to enforce broader global restrictions introduced during the previous administration. Critics had warned that the absence of enforcement created opportunities for companies to legally bypass restrictions through foreign operations. Technology experts describe the issue as significant because subsidiaries located outside China may have acquired some of the most advanced processors without special licenses. However, the guidance does not force existing users to stop operating previously acquired hardware. The move signals a tougher approach towards semiconductor controls as competition between Washington and Beijing increasingly centers on artificial intelligence and advanced computing. It raises fresh questions about how governments enforce restrictions across global supply chains.
The Philippines and Vietnam have announced an enhanced strategic partnership aimed at expanding political, economic, and security cooperation as both countries navigate increasingly complex regional challenges. The announcement came during a state visit to Manila by Vietnam's top leader, To Lam.
President Ferdinand Marcos said both nations share common interests in preserving peace, stability, and rules-based cooperation in their region. He described the upgraded partnership as increasingly important at a time when international politics and regional security are becoming more uncertain. The expanded relationship is expected to strengthen defense cooperation, political coordination, and people-to-people connections between both countries. Officials from Manila say broader collaboration would create new opportunities while reinforcing shared strategic goals. Vietnamese leaders describe the Philippines as an important regional partner with similar long-term interests and commitments to maintaining stability. Hanoi says it hopes the upgraded relationship will push cooperation into new areas and create stronger bilateral coordination. The two countries already share strategic concerns regarding maritime disputes and have previously upgraded relations amid rising tensions involving competing territorial claims. Their coast guards conducted their first joint exercises last year, despite overlapping claims in parts of the South China Sea. The strengthened partnership reflects wider efforts across Southeast Asia to build stronger regional relationships as countries adjust to shifting geopolitical realities. Analysts view the move as another sign that middle powers are increasingly seeking stronger partnerships to navigate regional uncertainty.
A powerful explosion at an explosive storage site in northeastern Myanmar has killed dozens of people and injured many more near the border with China. Rescue efforts continued after the blast tore through Kong Tat village in Shan State. Local reports suggested the death toll could exceed 40 people, with children among those killed, while dozens more were hospitalized. Houses and surrounding buildings were heavily damaged as the secondary explosions followed the initial blast. Videos circulating online showed a huge column of smoke rising into the sky as repeated explosions echoed across the area. Images from the scene also showed widespread destruction, with several buildings reduced to rubble. The explosion occurred inside territory controlled by the Tiang National Liberation Army, an armed ethnic group involved in long-running fighting with Myanmar's military government. The group acknowledged the blast and said the stored explosives were intended for mining operations in the ruby-producing region. The rebel movement confirmed that local residents were among those affected, but did not provide official casualty figures. Leaders also announced an investigation into the incident and promised accountability if negligence or wrongdoing is discovered. The disaster adds to instability across Myanmar, where conflict between the military government and armed groups has intensified since the 2021 military takeover. Shan State remains one of the country's most contested regions, with both conflict and mining activities shaping daily lives. Israeli forces have seized Beaufort Castle in southern Lebanon as military operations expand deeper into territory previously dominated by Hezbollah. Israeli leaders describe the capture as both symbolic and strategically important.
The Hilltop fortress overlooks key routes through southern Lebanon and has repeatedly played a role in regional conflicts over centuries. Israeli officials argue that controlling the position strengthens security for communities near the border. Ground operations have increasingly pushed beyond earlier military lines, while evacuation warnings have expanded across southern Lebanon. Israeli officials say the offensive is intended to reduce threats from Hezbollah attacks targeting troops and border communities. Lebanese officials accuse Israel of collective punishment and warn that expanding military operations and risk worsening humanitarian conditions. Recent strikes also reportedly damaged infrastructure and injured hospital workers in southern areas. International concern is also growing as foreign governments warn that deeper offensive could increase displacement and further destabilize Lebanon. Diplomatic efforts continue despite both sides accusing each other of violating ceasefire arrangement. The latest developments underline how fighting between Israel and Hezbollah continues to expand despite negotiations aimed at preventing broader regional escalation. Further talks are expected even as military operations intensify.
Now, Iran has said it's resumed production of several offshore facilities in the south parts of gas field months after attacks damaged energy infrastructure during conflict with Israel. Officials describe the restart as a major step towards restoring vital energy production.
Authorities said 3 offshore platforms had returned to operation while output was redirected through alternative processing facilities as repairs continue. Officials insisted the platforms themselves escaped serious damage despite attacks earlier this year. South power remains critical to Iran's economy and domestic energy supply because it provides much of the country's natural gas production. The restoration comes after attacks on energy infrastructure triggered wider disruptions across the region. Meanwhile, Iranian authorities have gradually restored internet connectivity after months of severe restrictions imposed during wartime conditions. Although access has improved, users continue reporting blocked services, unreliable connections, and ongoing restrictions across many global platforms. Many popular applications remain inaccessible, while slower connections continue affecting daily communication, businesses, and online services. The restrictions have fueled growing reliance on virtual private networks and alternative tools for internet access. The developments come as negotiations continue between Tehran and Washington amid pressure campaigns linked to broader regional tensions. Energy analysts say the ability to restore production and maintain exports could significantly influence Iran's economic recovery.
Growing uncertainty about regional security is pushing Indo-Pacific nations towards deeper defense cooperation as governments respond to China's expanded military capabilities and questions surrounding long-term American focus in the region. Now, discussions intensified during Asia's major defense forum, where leaders emphasized faster military strengthening and broader partnerships.
Regional officials say countries increasingly recognize the need to build stronger individual capabilities while simultaneously creating wider security networks. Officials from the Philippines argued that stronger partnerships reinforce rather than replace long-standing American security arrangements. The Philippines says it is expanding defense relationships with multiple partners, including Japan, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, as part of broader deterrence efforts. Officials argue that wider participation from regional partners strengthens collective responses to shared threats. Japan is positioning itself as a central player within this expanding network after significantly easing restrictions on defense exports. Tokyo says it intends to become a connector between countries, seeking stronger military cooperation and improved access to defense equipment. Singapore has also called for more flexible coalitions among like-minded countries capable of moving quickly when traditional arrangements prove insufficient. Officials argue smaller cooperative groupings can help test new ideas and respond faster to changing security environments. Canada, meanwhile, says it is increasing its military presence across the region through cybersecurity partnerships, maritime exercises, and training programs. Together, these developments highlight how regional governments are increasingly preparing for a future where security responsibilities may become more widely shared.
A meteor entering Earth's atmosphere triggered loud explosions and shaking across parts of the northeastern United States, prompting widespread confusion and emergency calls. Reports came from several states after residents heard powerful booms and felt buildings shake. Astronomers said the object entered the atmosphere near the border between Massachusetts and New Hampshire during the afternoon. Witnesses described seeing a bright fireball streaking across the sky before hearing two powerful blasts. Scientists estimated the meteor was roughly 1 meter wide and traveled at an extremely high speed before breaking apart high above the ground. The energy released during fragmentation was compared to hundreds of tons of explosive forces. Now, people across a wide area reported ground shaking and unusual noises, leading some to suspect an earthquake. However, monitoring agencies confirmed instruments detected no seismic activity linked to earthquakes at all. And experts believe the object likely burned up completely before reaching the ground, and if fragments survive, scientists suggested they must likely have fallen into the ocean rather than populated areas. The event highlights how relatively small objects entering Earth's atmosphere can create dramatic effects after and over large distances. Scientists continue to review observations to better understand the meteor's trajectory and its breakup. Now, Brooklyn Rivera, a longtime indigenous leader and campaigner for the rights of Nicaragua's Mixquito communities, has died after spending nearly 3 years in government detention. Authorities said he died from a bacterial infection after suffering health complications linked to COVID-19 and neurological decline. The government announced his death after releasing images showing Rivera hospitalized in critical condition, ending months of uncertainty over his whereabouts. Human rights organizations quickly criticized authorities, accusing them of withholding information from relatives, lawyers, and international observers during his detention. Rivera had spent decades campaigning for indigenous autonomy and land rights along Nicaragua's northeastern coast, where resource-rich territories remain politically significant. His activism repeatedly put him at odds with the government, forcing periods of exile, years of political confrontation. And after attending a United Nations Forum on Indigenous Issues in 2023 and criticizing the government abroad, Rivera returned secretly to Nicaragua before being arrested on terrorism accusations. Rights groups say little information emerged about his condition after his detention, describing him as effectively disappeared. International pressure had intensified in recent days after governments and rights advocates demanded demanded his release. Regional officials and international organizations are now calling for an independent investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death. His death also raises new concerns about the treatment inside Nicaragua's detention system, where rights monitors say political prisoners and indigenous activists have increasingly faced arbitrary arrest. Supporters say Rivera's death leaves a major gap in the movement already weakened by arrest, exile, and underground organizing. The Brazilian health authorities are monitoring 2 suspected Ebola cases after patients in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro developed symptoms linked to the disease. Now, officials say laboratory results are expected soon as precautionary measures remain active in both cities. Now, one patient, a man from Congo receiving treatment in Sao Paulo, initially showed symptoms, including fever, before later testing positive for meningitis. In Rio de Janeiro, a Belgian traveler arriving from Uganda tested positive for malaria after showing signs including chills, cough, and diarrhea. Authorities say neither diagnosis eliminates the possibility of simultaneous Ebola infection, prompting continued isolation and monitoring procedures. Officials have activated safety protocols designed to reduce potential exposure while awaiting definitive test results. The suspected cases emerge amid a worsening outbreak centered in Congo, where hundreds of deaths and more than 1,000 suspected infections have already been recorded. Uganda has also confirmed additional infections linked to the outbreak. Health experts say the current outbreak involves a rare Budimbungo strain of Ebola, which currently lacks proven vaccines and specialized treatments. Excuse me. But that's the world news headline. Up next is Kakaaki Business. To stay with us.
Welcome to Kakaaki Business. The Euro area seasonally adjusted unemployment rate rose to 6.3% in April 2026, the same as in the previous month and above market expectations of 6.2%. The number of unemployed fell by 84,000 from a month earlier to 11.075 million. Meanwhile, youth unemployment fell to 14.7% from 15.1% the previous month. With 2.337 million young people under 25 unemployed. Among the major economies in the bloc, Spain, France, and Italy recorded the highest rate, whereas Germany and the Netherlands reported the lowest. A year ago, the jobless rate was also at 6.3%. In the broader European Union, the unemployment rate stood at 6.0% in April 2026. The Turkish economy expanded 2.5% year-on-year in Q1 2026, easing from 3.4% in Q4 and below expectation for 2.7% growth. This marked the softest expansion in a year as growth slowed in household consumption and fixed investments. Net trade also weighed on growth as exports plunged 12.7%, while imports declined at a slower pace of 2.0%. In contrast, government spending recovered, rising 2.1% after a 0.9% contraction. On the production side, manufacturing contracted 1.4% after growing 0.9% previously, while growth slowed in construction, trade and transport, and financial and insurance activities. Meanwhile, agriculture, forestry and fishing rebounded 4.6% after a 7.2% decline, while information and communication accelerated to 9.5% from 8.9%. On a quarterly basis, GDP grew 0.1%, the weakest pace since a contraction in Q2 2024 and down from 0.4% previously. Italy's S&P Global Manufacturing PMI climbed to 52.9 in May 2026, up from 52.1 in April, and beating market forecasts of 52.0. This marks the strongest expansion in the sector since April 2026, driven by rising demand as clients stockpile safety reserves and shortages and anticipated price hikes. New orders grew at one of the fastest rates in 4 years, prompting manufacturers to increase output and purchasing activity, the latter at levels last seen in April 2022 to build buffer stocks against supply chain disruptions. Employment growth slowed, but backlogs rose for the first time in nearly 4 years. Price pressures intensified with input and output inflation hitting 4-year and 3.5-year highs, respectively. Finally, business confidence saw a slight uptick on hopes of positive outcomes from sales negotiations and more favorable economic conditions. And stakeholders have emphasized the need for stronger protection of innovators and their intellectual property, saying ideas and inventions must be properly safeguarded to enable their transformation into marketable products and services that can drive economic growth. The call was made during a fireside chat on accelerating Nigeria's innovation ecosystem held in Abuja, where the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Darren Tang, encouraged innovators to see intellectual property as a valuable business and financial asset that can attract investment, create economic value, and support business growth.
Intellectual property is going to become very important to Nigeria's growth and development because intellectual property is such an important tool for protecting the innovations and the creativity of Nigerian creators, Nigerian entrepreneurs. And the WIPO Nigeria office is going to bring all these to the ground, to the grassroots. Because the National IP strategy, intellectual property strategy that the government released and approved last year, needs to be implemented effectively. We're looking at how WIPO can support Nigeria to translate the research and development, the ideas from your laboratory to go to the market.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, said the federal government is working to strengthen Nigeria's innovation ecosystem through effective implementation of established policies and stronger collaboration among relevant stakeholders.
From the larger businesses that are already existing to smaller businesses, intellectual property is for everybody. It's democratized, and that's one of the messages that the DG of WIPO brought. Intellectual property is not just for the sake of it. It's not just a legal dimension, a right to be protected. It is something that is going to deliver value to this economy. We've seen our creatives, we've seen our science and tech, we've seen so many of them around the country go out into the world and be monetized and scaled. We want that commercialization. We want that scale.
The Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization is on his first official visit to Nigeria and has assured stakeholders that the newly established World Intellectual Property Organization office in the country will provide support for policy development, capacity building, innovation protection, and other initiatives aimed at improving the nation's intellectual property framework and helping innovators transform their ideas into commercially viable products. The Abuja Conclave 2026 Strategic Insight Report has identified poor execution of policies as one of Africa's greatest development challenges. The report notes that despite abundant resources and talent, weak implementation systems and policy inconsistency continue to hinder progress across the continent. The report, which made available to media on Monday, described trust as a strategic asset for economic growth and national stability, noting that government can rebuild public confidence through transparent governance, accountability, fairness, and the consistent delivery of essential services. Delegates called for reforms that reflect Africa's unique realities rather than inherited external models. They emphasized merit-based leadership, stronger institutions, and greater continental cooperation in engaging with global powers. The dossier also advocates economic and technological self-reliance, urging African nations to mobilize local capital for infrastructure and industrial development while investing in indigenous technology and cloud infrastructure. It concludes that Africa's future prosperity depends on its ability to translate potential into measurable results. The Central Bank of Nigeria is charting a new course for the country's digital economy as it unveils the payment system 2038. The Apex Bank governor, Olayemi Cardoso says the payment framework is designed to build a faster, safer, and more inclusive payment ecosystem that will expand financial inclusion, build trust in payment services, and strengthens Nigeria's competitiveness in global digital market.
The Central Bank of Nigeria began its payment modernization journey in 2007 with the Payment System Vision 2020, aimed at reducing dependency on cash and promoting electronic transactions until Vision 2025. The initiative helped drive the adoption of instant transfer, point-of-sales terminals, mobile and internet banking, card payments, and faster interbank transactions. Nearly 2 decades later, the Apex Bank is unveiling the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028, a new roadmap designed to build on those gains and position the country for the future of digital finance. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso says the vision will deliver a payment ecosystem that is faster, more secure, inclusive, and globally competitive.
PSB 2028 is also an important component of the broader reform agenda that the Central Bank has pursued since 2023. By strengthening the efficiency, resilience, and international connectivity of our payments ecosystem, this vision will support ongoing efforts to stabilize the economy, facilitate trade and remittance flows, deepen investor confidence, and contribute to improvements in Nigeria's external and balance and payments position over time.
Deputy Governor Economic Policy Mohammed Abdullahi says the initiative will strengthen payment infrastructure, deepen innovation, expand access to financial services, and improve Nigeria's integration with regional and global payment systems.
The key priorities here will include the establishment of a National Payment Security Operations Center, deployment of SupTech and RegTech for real-time oversight, strengthening AML, CFT, and fraud response systems, and enhancing interagency coordination. The expected outcomes include stronger consumer and investor confidence, a resilient, secure payment ecosystem, reduced systemic risk, trust as a measurable and enforceable outcome.
We are here to lay down another 3-year strategy that will deepen financial services, make our payment system more efficient, make us more globally competitive, and make people comfortable and trust the financial services. Because if they don't trust the financial services, they will never use it. And so trust is a key word in the entire game that we are set to play.
The Central Bank says the success of the vision will depend on effective implementation and collaboration among regulators, financial institutions, fintech firms, and other stakeholders to ensure the benefit reach businesses and individuals across the country.
And that's Kakaaki Business. Good morning.
New chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
Thank you so much, Larry, for that business news. Talking about business and the business of electricity in Gambia. If you visited, front pages of the Gambian newspapers, you will see that most of the newspapers are running with an editorial to the letter to Mr. President titled, "Good morning, Mr. President. urgent remedy needed to sort out the electricity headache in Gambia. And the list of what they need done goes on and on. And this is what we talk about, the citizen's office and the power of democracy. But away from that, we want to still look at another country, Rwanda. The CEO forums in Kigali has brought together African business stakeholders to look at really the importance of intra-African trade and how that can be maximized. At the moment, there seems to be roadblocks, but this conference really x-rays, excoriates, and looks in between the gaps. Let's take a look.
Africa has spent years pushing for regional integration through blocs like ECOWAS, the East African Community, and SADC. Yet, trade between African nations sits below 20% of the continent's total trade volume. This stark figure highlights deep structural issues. African leaders frequently call for economic unity at major summits, but actual progress is slow and fragmented. Critical investment are still missing in infrastructure, industrial capacity, and border logistics. Then came a major turning point, the African Continental Free Trade Area, launched in 2021. It is the world's largest free trade agreement. The goal was to create a single African market, boost cross-border investments, and drive industrialization. But years after its launch, local businesses still face the same old hurdles. They struggle with multiple border taxes, chaotic customs procedures, and terrible transport networks. Critics say many African economies are too focused on the outside world. Countries still trade more with Europe, Asia, and North America than with their own neighbors. At the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu addressed this issue directly.
Look around the entire continent, 54 countries. There's none of us without a particular commodity available in the country or the other. Why not start an exchange commodity platform where we can trade with one another?
But experts argue that political speeches will not dismantle trade barriers. They point to poor policy coordination between government and a lack of competitive manufacturing.
So whilst the Continental Free Trade Agreement is a nice piece of paper, digital should actually push us in this direction of more integration, more trade. And again, we should be thinking Africa first in terms of how we think of trade. Not Africa only, but certainly more Africa first and then rest of the world.
Cross-border investments are supposed to drive jobs under AfCFTA. Instead, they are stalled by regulatory uncertainty, volatile currencies, and sudden policy shifts. Despite these hurdles, the Kigali Forum highlighted a clear path forward. Digital trade, fintech, regional payment systems, and agriculture offer massive opportunity.
A recurring theme that has come right from Nairobi and has been continued here in Kigali is the idea of unlocking the pent-up capital that Africa has. Our pension funds, our sovereign wealth funds, making sure that they are invested on the continent.
Ultimately, Africa's economic future will not be decided by summits or signed treaties. It will depend on whether leaders finally clear the bottlenecks preventing African nations from trading, producing, and growing together. Olamide Abriyo, AIT News, Abuja.
Well, I think that's still a work in progress, listening to the minister there and speaking about African Free Trade Agreement. Of course, we know that that officially was launched in 2021, but again, implementation is still yet to kick off the ground. And with that conversation and response from some of the participants at that World Forum in African Forum in Kigali for CEOs. But the thing is the fact that, while 49 countries have formally ratified the treaty, full implementation still suffers, some deadlock, especially due to poor transport, infrastructure, communication, and again, the high border costs as well, which is something that AFTA seems to also be hovering around in terms of how to look at the dynamics in resolving that, considering that immigration and sovereignty of each country has their own definite runaround, mechanisms on how they probably replicate or have those laws obeyed. Well, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be looking at that. But at the moment today, Rwanda and East African ministers across the East African country will be holding a conference virtually to look at how to forestall further outbreaks on Ebola. Because, of course, DR Congo, Uganda borders countries like Rwanda, Sudan, and all of that. And it's a critical conversation to be had. Now, let's go to another conversation this morning. And this time we're moving away from trade and we're going to insecurity. The Kogi State Police Command confirmed the abduction of more than 25 people following an attack by gunmen in Ayegunle Igun, located by the Kaba Bunu local government area. And our correspondent from Lokoja has this report.
Reports indicated that the gunmen stormed the community in the early hours of Monday. 2 individuals were fatally shot by the suspected bandits while attempting to escape. The remaining victims are believed to be passengers of a commercial bus that was intercepted by the gunmen while transiting through the area.
Our community being on the main road, they took the opportunity and stopped the passing vehicles with loaded passengers, about 3 vehicles. One was shot, but he managed to escape to about a kilometer and a half before he decided to stop. It was this morning we realized 2 passengers died. But the 2 who they successfully stopped here, they offloaded all the passengers and moved inside the forest with them. So as I'm talking with you, those people with 2 of my community people, they are already in that in the forest. The reality we are facing now is the fact that 2 of my people are in their hands and 1 is already laid. He died instantly.
Kogi State Commissioner of Police Nasiru Kankarafi confirmed the incident during the passing out parade of 565 newly trained police constables at the command headquarters in Lokoja.
There was a kidnapping incident. Some bandits went and blocked the highway, and some people were injured. The area commander, Kaba, has responded promptly in collusion with other security forces. Investigation has commenced, and very soon we'll give you the detail of the outcome of the investigation.
While preliminary reports from the scene initially noted 1 death and 1 injury, police tracking has since updated the casualties. The commissioner assured the public that joint security agencies have launched a manhunt to rescue the adopted victims and apprehend the attackers. Investigation into the incidents remains active. Tehumba Akaya, AIT News, Lokoja.
Of course, we cannot forget the 42 school children also abducted in Borno State, whilst we're also looking at the Oyo State saga and, of course, the protest that has been scheduled to commence today to call on the government to do more than it says to have those children and teachers released. In the meantime, let's go to our social intervention segment.
And welcome to Get Fit in 60 Seconds with Jolly Phillips. Now, everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go. Hello, welcome. Jolly Phillips here again for your 1-minute workout. And today we are pushing our limit. We're going to go 1 jack, 1 kick. Yes? 1 jack and 1 leg lift or a kick. That's what we're doing. Are you ready? Because your time starts now. Come on, let's go. 1 jack, 1 kick. Hey, 1 kick, let's go. Ha, 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 ha. Get the rhythm. Have fun with it. Come on. Up, up, ah, up, ah, up. That's it. Keep going. If you want to have fun with this one, turn around with it. Hit. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, come on. Ha, you'll make the time go faster. 25 seconds left. Where are you? Come on, stay with me. Come on. If this is too much, slow it down. Ha. What, who wants to slow it down? Nobody. Come on. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. you had a great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So until the next time, bye-bye.
Great people of Nigeria, welcome to Leadership Clinic. Today I'll be speaking on speaking and listening, the essential part of communication. I mean, it will interest you to know that every leader that has made a big difference in our world must be that leader who does not have the capacity to just speak, but has the capacity to listen. In fact, every leader must open his ear or her ear to listen to what the people are saying. It will interest you to know that the ear tastes what? Like the mouth tastes meat. Very interestingly, for many years, over 10 years, going to 15 years, I have spent time on the Leadership Clinic. I'm speaking, sharing ideas on what leadership is all about and how leadership is impacting our community and our lives. But it is important right now that I would like to ask a very powerful question. If you have a pen, you can take a pen and just jot down this question. Are there leadership challenges that you are facing as an individual? Are there leadership questions you would like to ask me personally? You would like to ask me to speak about? Are there subject matter that are important to you that you think that if I'm able to answer this question, it can help you become a better leader? This is one of those moments that I want to be conversational with you. This is one of those moments I want to hear you out. This is one of those moments that I want to really listen to you. If Leadership Clinic has impacted you in any way, you can share as well. But the most important thing is that you must be able to bring up those ideas that can help shape you, help you become the best version of yourself. And that's what I've come here to help you become. Nobody has ever become great just by being himself. People are becoming great daily because they ask a lot of questions. The power questions are important. Every leader that will go far must endure to generate questions, ask questions, and wait for those replies. Those replies will make a big difference. So public speaking is about speaking, it's about listening. It's about having a conversation. It's about give me and then I give you too. That's what public speaking is all about. So anywhere that you are in the world and you have been listening to me, following this Leadership Clinic, and you have a pressing question bothering you about any subject matter on leadership that you can never imagine, all I want you to do is send to me a personal email to me at linus.okorie@godney.africa. That's just send me a mail and I will respond to you. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to share with you. And in some cases, I will take your subject matter that is important and I'll put it in the Leadership Clinic and share with you as well. That is the way to go. That is the way that we can build momentum. We can help one another to become a lot more than we can ever be. Great people of Nigeria. You must remember, if a man does not have a purpose of waking up, sleeping becomes the best.
Have you ever wondered why some schools and parents go all out to provide expo for their students or child? I am bothered, honestly. As a parent, when you knew that you were eventually going to encourage your child to engage in exam malpractice, then why did you waste your money sending the child to school in the first place? As a school, when you knew that the only way to raise the bar is to encourage expos and other examination malpractices to the students, then why did you deceive parents to pay termly school fees? It is a crime and a disservice to your child or student if you practice such. It means that you are breeding a child or student that is incompetent and a lifetime failure. Have you ever asked yourself the question that how would such a child or student compete favorably in the future with other mates in the workplace? In this day and age where there are no jobs and your child would have to, compete favorably with others at the job market, come on. What legacy are you laying for such a child? Like I tell people who, encourage such, do not cry or yell when your child or student becomes a criminal, a fraud, and brings shame to you as a parent and the school. Whether you like it or not, when it happens, people will point horrible fingers to your family name and to the school. So the bar you're trying to raise for the school will be tarnished, and your child will be labeled the child of Mr. XYZ. As a school or a parent who practices such, please stop it. Train your child or student in the way he or she should go, and he or she will never depart from it or stray. The earlier we realize that our children and students are our future, the better our country becomes, devoid of corruption and irresponsible leadership. Honestly, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's now time for us to bring you your delight this Tuesday, our newspaper review. And of course, we do have the duo here right in the house. One has returned from
wherever.
Yes. I hope you can give us a bit of Mandarin this morning. You're welcome, Dr.
Ni hao.
Hi, welcome. And Alaj, looking very fresh. You lost a bit of weight too with all the Chinese tea. Alaj, good morning. It's great to have you. How are you? All right, so let's start with our leading stories this morning. Headline, if I would say, Al Jazeera Nigeria starts opening with the lead on Oyo schools, kidnapping, NUT declares nationwide protest. And that's the lead story. It says, as demand for victims' release escalates, concerns over reports that kidnappers are using teachers and school children as shield against security operations. And that's on page 9 of the Al Jazeera Nigeria. And from the Al Jazeera Nigeria, we go to the Daily Monitor this morning. Still looking at the lead, here's Oriwe abduction. NUT declares indefinite strike in Oyo. Demands unconditional release of abducted school children and teachers. Nan's Abeokuta residents protest, seek swift rescue of Oriwe victims. We will deploy every lawful tool available to ensure our children teachers are returned, and that's coming from Mr. President. But in Nigeria, only 59% prepared for potential Ebola outbreak, says NCDC DG. Above that masthead is also there. Let's go over to the Vanguard. The Vanguard this morning, still looking at Oyo, says protests rock Oyo, Ogun over abduction of teachers, students, and then you also find a beehive of riders there. I'll just take a few. Schools short as teachers, CSOs protest in Oyo. Ogun residents protest, demand urgent government action, amongst others. Now, moving over to New Telegraph, we also look at the story on our Oyo abduction as the lead story there. Says we will use every tool available to ensure our children, teachers return home safely. And that's from Tinubu. That's the president on page 6, 27 and 29 of the newspaper. The writer there also looks at, says Navy has eradicated piracy, curtailed crude oil theft. And that's perhaps a different look at some of the insecurity stories there. And we go over to Daily Sun. Daily Sun is looking at bloodbath in Plateau, Anambra, Kogi, Niger. Bloodbath in Plateau, Anambra, Kogi, Niger. Writer says, traditional rulers, 8 others killed, 10 injured in fresh Plateau attacks. Gunmen killed 2 policemen in Anambra. In Kogi, 2 died in soldiers' masqueraders clash. Another killed, gunmen abduct 30, and head of vigilantes dies as Joint Security Task Force kills over 200 terrorists. And that's the writing story to the Daily Sun. Let's also go to leadership, and the leadership is looking at stories on bandits. Taking a look at Kogi State. So it's bandits abduct 30 in Kogi, attack mosque in Kaduna, kidnap worshippers, and that's on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. You'll find out front page. And then the picture story there, however, also gives us a clearer insight on the pictorial effect of the protesters in Oyo State demanding the return of the schoolgirls. And that story is just underneath that picture story. Oyo school abduction, protests rock Ibadan as teachers begin strike. Now, let's move over and perhaps fly to Nigerian pilot as they take off on their tarmac this morning. Kidnapped pupils, outrage in Borno. 42 pupils still in Boko Haram captivity. Residents accuse federal government of neglect. Question absence of top federal government officials in Mosa community. Demand urgent rescue action. Parley with parents, and that's on page 8 of the Nigerian pilot. The Kogi story there with the abduction of over 30 persons is right below the picture story. A lot of papers will be running with the lead on Oyo and some insecurity stories from Kogi State and Borno as well, and the Ebola story as well. But the Daily Trust is looking at cholera as the lead story this morning. Cholera kills 40 in Borno, and that's the lead story. But the picture story on the Oyo protests is still there as the lead picture story. Bandit leader contacts Abductor General's family, seeks release of members. That's another headliner there just below the picture story on the front page of the Daily Trust. Now let's look at Authority. Authority is looking at a bit of, political story this morning. It says 2027 Babachela hits Kachala Atiku. Says hits Kachala Atiku dumps ADC. Babachela Lawal hits Kachala Atiku dumps ADC. That is selective outrage. Atiku speaks there on the writing story, and that's on the front page of the Authority newspaper. And that still seems to be the take of this Nigeria as well, going politically speaking. The lead here still says 2027, Atiku not better than Tinubu. Babacha hits ex-VP, alleges massive rigging in ADC primaries, quits party, exercise valid, says candidate, and that's on page 4 of this Nigeria. Quits party claims that the ADC primaries was massively rigged. But below that picture story, they are just political pretenders. Wike tackles coalition leaders. ADC, NDC, misleading Nigerians with empty promises. And that's on page 5 of this Nigeria front page newspaper. Let's also look at the Daily Global. The Daily Global looks at state conversations here. Rivers Coalition luncheon signals cross-party poll unity, and that's the front page of this story for Daily Global. You would also want to look at the fact that the Guardian is still looking at presidential candidates this morning. Says party primaries, divided opposition rejigs 2027 polls, line up 11 presidential candidates. Divided opposition rejigs 2027 polls. 2027 polls line up 11 presidential candidates, and that's on page 6, front page of the Guardian newspaper. Yes, of course. And you would also see other stories on insecurity there. Gunmen kill 8 in Plateau. Kogi bans festival after deadly violence, and that's what you also see right there on the front page of the Guardian. But we also want to look at what the Observer's Time is observing this morning. They're talking about CBN's vision. Say CBN Vision 2028, cash no longer king. Rider says to onboard 50 million unbanked Nigerians, deploys AI fraud detection. And that's the rider to the Observer's Times there, and that's what you find. And you also want to look at IOM rescues 67,000 stranded Nigerian migrants. And that's on page 6. Find out who, where, and what on page 6 of the Observer's Times. And we look at the Daily Independent this morning. It's still talking CBN from the Observer's Times Vision 2028 of CBN. But what it says here is CBN eyes near zero fraud, 95% financial inclusion, targets reduction of cash outside banks to 40%, reassigns deputy governors in strategic shakeup to drive reforms. And that's the rider to the Daily Independent story as well. Now, let's quickly move to Nigerian News Direct. So the next 3 papers we're looking at are all looking at the CBN, and that's where exactly the News Direct is going. Says CBN targets 95% financial inclusion by 2028, launches Nigerian payment system vision, and that's a rider to that story. And next one you also want to look at there is, the Business NG looking at oil surges 7% as Iran suspends U.S. talks, equity slide on escalating Middle East tension. That's the writings there. And then just below that picture story, front page of the Business NG, Nigeria only 59% ready for Ebola outbreak. Federal government reveals amid public anxiety. NCDC flags gaps, tightens entry surveillance. And that is front page of the Business NG. And just to go straight from here, let's go straight to the Daily News Craft, shall we? And what we have is crisis looms. Workers threaten nationwide strike, demand sovereign national conference. NGF pushes for 100,000 minimum wage to deserve 1 million naira, NLC says. Excuse me. The Daily Asset looks at Navy Mark 70th anniversary. Tinubu extols continental leadership as well, and that is also the last paper for us as reviews coming this morning. All right, let me start with you, Elaji. First of all, of course, the conversation on Oyo school abduction and the preparation to protest today across Nigeria.
By teachers, right?
Yes.
And some other interest groups.
Civil society.
Civil society. It is quite unfortunate that despite the series of warnings, the series of conversations we'll be having here about the fact that bandits are spreading their terror network from the northwest to the southwest. And that is why Kogi, western part of Kogi, and Kwara has become very vulnerable in recent times. Anybody who understands the accuracy of the geography of Nigeria, the accuracy of the physical map of Nigeria would understand that parts of Kwara actually falls under the southern part of Nigeria, just as the western part of Kogi is geographically in western Nigeria. Okay. So whatever happens in western part of Kogi or consistently happens in Kwara, anybody should know that that is already in southwest Nigeria. What has happened in Oyo is that, well, the geopolitical map of the southwest has for the first time experienced what has been going on in Zamfara, in Katsina, southern Kaduna, and other parts of Nigeria that are under the siege of terrorists. And this is not just an ordinary attack, it was a coordinated one. You could safely say that Zamfara happened in Oyo, which is like making a major landfall in terms of terrorism in the southwestern geopolitical zone. And I hope that this will now serve as a shock therapy to the president, to set aside all political considerations, to now understand that no part of Nigeria is safe from this menace until it is tackled headlong. You know why I'm saying this? You see these bandits and criminals and terrorists, whatever I want to call them, they don't care about any political permutation. They are not under the control of any politician. They are in their own world, a government unto themselves, and they are hoping, they are aiming gradually to take over the states. And this is why it's unfortunate that at a time like this that all hands should be on deck when we should really have a national emergency. Politicians are trying to politicize what has happened in Oyo. You see, the statement coming from former Governor Fayose to the effect that
Do you think
he
it's
believes that the attack, the abduction of school students along with their teachers may have been orchestrated by the government of Oyo State, just to give the Tinubu government a bad name or something of that nature. It's crazy indeed. It's highly irresponsible. You know what I'm saying this? This narrative that insecurity in Nigeria is politically motivated appears to be gaining a foothold in the seat of power, because even the president somewhat reiterated this a little while ago when he tried to say, look, no matter what you do.
Is that also affecting their level of prevention?
That is the point exactly the point I'm trying to make. We've been hearing this narrative since Jonathan's time, and I've always insisted. Check on my write-off and all my commentaries. Boko Haram has no political affiliation. Banditry has none. And these guys are not laughing at us. It's like they are enjoying the theatrics, knowing that, okay, you guys will be here arguing among yourselves until the day we march on Abuja and all of you will flee this country. So I think this should be a wake-up call. No state government would have organized the abduction of its own people. It's not possible. And for those who do not know, because a lot of Nigerians try to give life to some of these kind of conspiracy theories, politicians' mischief begin and end with thuggery. You must understand this. There's a clear difference between thuggery and criminality. Thugs are used by politicians to cause trouble sometimes during the elections. Grab ballot boxes, destroy opponents' properties. Thuggery. Thugs that you know in your community, most of them are members of the union, of road traffic workers. You know them. You know the regular people. In fact, some of them are millionaires. We know them. Some of them are even in Abuja, occupying high offices in Abuja now, in the union offices. These are the people that politicians use. Anything beyond thuggery is not political. I'm saying this. Yeah. I'm saying it because Nigerians must be united around the right narrative to be able to defeat banditry and criminality.
Dr. Maho, I mean, if you look at the front page of the New Telegraph, it says, we will use every tool available to ensure our children, teachers return home safely. But below that, you will see a story on the parliament, say, battle for minority leadership as reps resume today. That's the first thing on your table. How do you just oppose this?
Adora, I just came back from a long trip of about 3 weeks.
So we don't want you to be tragically reminded.
You know, and I've been at peace with myself for a very long time. You know, when you look at Nigeria's daily newspaper, what you see is an epidemic of crisis. Epidemic, kidnapping, bloodletting, politicians who don't know their left from their right, especially when you come from a climate where things work to one where things doesn't work. The headlines you see in Nigerian newspaper is a reflection of the Nigerian state. Outside this country, being in China for about 2 weeks, when you pick up their daily newspaper, what you see are stories of development, breakthroughs, leaders communicating policies and programs and achievements to their people. But you come to Nigeria, what you see is kidnapping, death, protest, strikes, labor wanting to go on strike over issues of minimum wage. And you tend to slide back into what you feel that you've been relieved of in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Okay? So, for an average Nigerian, before I come to your question, for an average Nigerian, what comes to me, you know, as a student, as a student of literature, I was once engrossed with the works of William Wordsworth. And there's something he said about poetry, about his poetry, which I never forget when relating it to the Nigerian situation. He spoke about the overclouded sight of a naked blindness. Overclouded sight of a naked blindness. And what that means is that as Nigerians, we are so used to this situation we find ourselves as a country that we are blind to the reality of our situation. We no longer see things the way we ought to see things, or the way an outsider will see us when he comes into this country. Any outsider who comes into the country and see the dailies and the kind of stories portrayed all over Nigeria will run away from this country because of the picture we paint about ourselves. And talking about what happened in Oyo. Two events happened on the 15th of May. One in Esiri, local government of Oyo State, and the other one is Askira Uba in Borno State. And they are similar, kidnap of school children.
42 children in
and the numbers
Borno,
are almost 42, 46.
Yeah.
But somehow the media have relegated one to the background and portrayed the other as what happened. Why? I don't know. I was outside this country when it happened. Now, why the media choose to?
No, I want to give an answer to that quickly. And this is a wake-up call for Northerners. When you keep quiet about your issue, nobody will report it. For many years, banditry was happening in the north. When Buhari was in power, they refused to speak up because they don't want to give Buhari a bad name.
Now they don't want to give Tinubu a bad name.
I'm saying that culture of not speaking out. If you recall, when Christians spoke out in this country about genocide, it was only then that some people gone blazed and they said, we too, we are being killed. I said, speak out, speak your own truth. Nobody would dispute it. Look at the reaction around the kidnapping in Oyo. The Oyo people themselves are protesting. Teachers are protesting.
And the National Teachers Union
are protesting. Because the local ones have started protesting. CSOs are protesting. A journalist today, Mude, one of our colleagues, went on ground to carry out a report.
In Oyo.
So what stopped journalists from the north, CSOs in the north, leaders in the north, from speaking out? I know what I'm saying. There's this conspiracy of silence that for so long has pervaded the northern part of this country. Because of, sometimes, you know why? If you report these issues, questions will arise as far. Who are the perpetrators? That side of the perpetrators is one thing nobody is comfortable talking about. But for those of them in the south, they speak out whenever anything happens to them. And it gets me the attention. If you don't speak out, how do I know? Somebody spoke out. Somebody announced this attack. Somebody publicized it. The people concerned, even the family members came out. How many family members of the abducted people in Africa come out to speak? So what am I saying in essence? The media is not biased in Nigeria. But if you have anything you need to tell the world, say it. The North must embrace this culture of openness, of speaking out, where it affects them in terms of security. But like I said, the problem is usually the fact that in speaking out, who are the perpetrators? We don't want to speak about the perpetrators too much. So
because it affects sensibilities.
The political alignment.
Anyway, on that score, it's understood. But the message is very clear. Look, it's an ill wind that blows nobody no good. So the North should speak out.
But there's a point to you. I mean, Dr. Peter Awodi says, it is disheartening that insecurity often exhibits in the build-up to any election in Nigeria. Poor citizens are often used as pawns for dirty political gain.
Conspiracy theory?
Yes.
It is not true.
Okay.
Less than 6 months after Tinubu became president, in December 2023, a massacre took place in Plateau where 100 people were slaughtered. Please, this is a daily reality in Nigeria.
Yes.
Since, as long as I can remember, since 2010. It's not about elections. When the first attack happened in Madala, elections were not at hand. So please, this...
That narrative, it doesn't hold water.
So we need to counter because it's coming from an agent of socialization.
As a country, we have a problem. Let's give it a problem. And let's not be attributing it to certain... Whether it is during election or after election or before election, it's a crime.
Which political party is responsible for it now? Is it the opposition? And if it's opposition, why are we not arresting the opposition leaders? Since they're the ones responsible. So what are we talking about? Look, these guys act when the coast is clear. Simple. They don't have timetable of election in their schedule.
When the coast is clear and when they see soft targets that they can attack.
And as long as the government continues to behave the way it's behaving, liquidating bandits and terrorists, what's happening today was foretold.
And we have, like Moji said, we have created a situation, a fertile ground for terrorists to thrive.
Yes.
And we seem as a nation lacking the ability to learn from our experiences. The first mass adoption in this country happened with Chibok in 2014, right?
Yes.
2014. That was the first mass adoption that happened in this country. What lessons have we learned from it? And how have we applied that lesson to forestall future occurrence of mass school adoption? The only lesson we seem, the only implementation strategy we seem to have put in place was the so-called safe school initiative.
Which is ineffective.
Which is ineffective.
Because you can also care schools in the isolation of the community.
Mojid, do you know a lot of people don't know that there's what you call, there's a National Safe School Coordination Center. Are you aware? That said they have registered over 14,000 schools. That said they have linked all this, they have linked all these schools in such a way that when there is crisis, they can just push a button to alert, a security coordinating response center that can respond immediately, for which about 144 billion was budgeted. So the question is, what happened to it? The last I checked, Adora,
yes,
in December of 2025, the Senate set up a probe panel to find out what happened to about 10 million US dollars, and that 144 billion naira that was budgeted for that project. The question we should ask ourselves as a nation is that, what happened to that fund?
So the parliament
what was the
resumes
outcome
today
of that probe?
Yes, so I put something to you earlier, and I needed you to touch on it because, I said battle for minority leadership as reps resumed today. We're not hearing, marching orders given to provide answers to...
Minority leader because of the one that was nominated.
Yeah.
They're trying to for what is left.
Yes.
Yes, the 10th
parliament. Crumbs that is left in this assembly, they are struggling for it now because we still have about a year or so to the end of their tenure. That's the only business.
To me, it's the contradiction in Nigerian politics.
So we have,
when you have somebody is neither APC, neither PDP.
They're all united in agreed, though. Can be true.
United in the agreed.
Yeah,
where you have
political
political parties that are not ideologically based, where national interest or personal interest supersedes national interest, where politicians don't play the games with any forms of morality, and yet in all of these, you have citizens. You have citizens who clap for them. You have followers who are ready to lay down their life for them and not asking the basic
questions. And when you ask questions on their behalf, they turn their guns on you. When we asked, that okay, as it is today, what distinguishes one party from another in Nigeria? In terms of structure, in terms of ideology, people will tell you, stop asking for the ideology, wait until the election comes.
And that is why it's so easy for somebody who told you that he's the person who brought APC to his state, because he didn't get the ticket, he will move to another party.
All right, let's quickly go to another lead headline here, which is also quite frightening because Nigeria only 59% ready for Ebola outbreak. Federal government reveals amid public anxiety. NCDC flags gaps. The Business NG took that as another headline story there, just below that picture story. Dr. Maho, I'm bringing this to you because you're just coming in. And so you probably also experience, some level of surveillance. Yes, border control. How was that, and what are your concerns for this?
No, it's concerning. We read in the papers. We read about strategy of how government is trying to, protect its citizens health-wise to ensure that while we are dealing with our domestic problem, we don't import external crisis into the country, especially it has to do with a deadly disease like Ebola. But in terms of preparedness, I don't think we are prepared at all. To confront, an outbreak like Ebola. Our border control point, the people that are manning our border control, are they trained? Do they have the facility to be able to check that those coming into the country are not health hazards, coming in country from where they are coming from? Do they even monitor, you know, those coming in, where are the places they have been to? Do they even ask basic questions as it relates to their health status? I came into the country about last weekend, and I do know that when you talk about Nigeria, when you are coming from a place where things work and coming to a place where people want things to work in their interest, you see the difference. You see a plethora of security personnel manning your border. But you ask yourself, what are they doing there? What they are doing there, they are just hustlers. Okay, how now? Welcome. What do you bring for us? That's the language. But when you travel outside this country, at their border posts, you see professionalism. Nobody laughs at you. You see equipment mounted in strategic places in order to screen you in or out. You see that human, interface is very little. They allow technology to do most of the work that they need to do. And where human interface is necessary, they simply pull you aside and do what is necessary. But in the Nigerian situation, even in Abuja airport here, when you are going through clearance, where the Minister of Aviation, of course, they've tried to put some, gadgets there.
They
that
focus on the foreigners and the
yes, you scan your passport and the gate open and all that. But you still find out that human interface is very high, which to me is unnecessary. And we're a situation whereby you need to spend about maybe minimum 1 minute to scan your passport. They hold on to your passport and be asking you ridiculous questions.
Okay, so
as if all the questions, you understand? But the point I'm trying to make is other countries, one personnel does the job of NDLEA, custom, immigration.
So why I'm
and
asking
others.
this question, the danger we face with this, because Ebola is traveling fast and it's traveling through travel.
The problem we face with it is that our state of preparedness have been eaten up by the greed of the personnel that are supposed to do this job.
And we're talking about
greed
politics
and corruption that makes the system not to work. And even funding is not there. If the NCDC is saying that just 55% prepared, it means the funding is not there. It means we are not prepared to even tackle the problem. And so it's a wake-up call to the federal government, to the NCDC. Look, be prepared. Do what is necessary to make sure that of all the problems we are confronting as a country, this doesn't become an additional problem.
Indeed, and the strain that we're facing is more deadly than the last one. Elijah, just as we leave the conversation, let's go to this Nigeria, where it talks politics a little bit. 2027, Atiku not better than Tinubu. Babacha hits ex-VP. Alleges massive rigging in ADC primaries. You also see bottom page, they are just political pretenders. Wike tackles coalition leaders. ADC, NDC misleading Nigerians with empty promises. And you might want to take that while you also look at, I think this comment is coming from one of our social media respondents who says, if you're saying that NDC and ADC are misleading Nigerians, what about APC? What are they doing? So that's somebody also responding to that.
Politics. Bachilawa, former SGF, and the chieftain of the ADC until yesterday, has come up with something that I consider very typical of Bachilawa. He goes very personal on those he tries to oppose. And he can be interpreted in two ways. First, some have said it could be a good omen for Tinubu, for Atiku, because this was how Bachilawa similarly ditched Tinubu. Atiku became president eventually. So probably there is some whole problem that follows Bachilawa everywhere. So whenever he leaves a camp, that camp becomes successful. Or rather, those that after him not want to be part of the success of any camp. So the Atiku camp might as well leave a sign of relief to say, well, maybe just it was with Tinubu, it may be with it may become with Atiku. And that's what the lights are doing. But well, the point is raising about rigging of elections in the party. For me, it would have been raised without the personal attack on Atiku, mention of his ethnicity and bringing it to ridicule, and trying to portray him somebody that I do not really think Atiku is. I said this because even though I have my reservations about Atiku's attempt to violate zoning, I mean, he did it the last time, he was trying to do it now. I still consider Atiku one of those few Nigerians that possess a robust pan-Nigerian nationalist credential and has demonstrated this time and again. Like I said, the only blight to that credential now is attempt to violate zoning second time. So if the man, the Babachi that based his criticism on his violation of zoning, it will be a bit understandable, but to just base it on rigging and then go off
tangents, yes.
I do not think it's healthy for our politics. We should be having constructive discussions around issues.
Mojid, who is Kachala? Is he trying to re-Christian?
Okay,
because when I read that on the lighter side, yes. When I read that statement and I was making reference to Kachala, I thought he's a different person until I find out that somebody told me that he's actually a Atiku.
He's actually to Kachala. According to now, bandits in the forest refer to their kingpins as Kachala. And he was
so on the lighter side, you see the mischief.
Exactly.
In that statement,
ethnic baiting and
yes, and all that.
It's not something that anybody should applaud, really. Especially coming from Babachi Lawa, who does not have a credible record in public service, really. He was just careful. I had it in the office. Gas cutting scandal.
Who has no, as far as I'm concerned, who has no political base.
So Majid, just as there's somebody says to tell you, that's Beto Diaka says, surely Majid missed it when he said banditry and terrorism have no political connotation. That's a wrong assertion. Surely they do. He should go and find out.
He should tell us the political party they belong to. He should tell us the political party they belong to and the political leaders.
I think the point we are trying to make is that when you try to excuse
every nonsense with politics,
you invariably you are giving credit.
Boko Haram insurgency is a religiously motivated war. That's why it thrived under Jonathan, a Christian, and thrived almost even more under Buhari, a Muslim, and it still thrived under a Muslim leader. Banditry is a cultural problem, that came to the fore when the state receded. And those who thought that bandits were their brothers eventually became victims of bandits. So when the bandit abducts a group of people, for instance, they don't segregate the Fulanis from the non-Fulanis. No, you must all pay ransom. It's not their business. When they put fire on the moving vehicle to demobilize it, they don't care who the bullet touches. All they want is their ransom. Do you get the point? And they don't belong. Every political party is a victim. If you're a PDP member, APC member, NDC, and you are caught by bandit, they will not say you because you are APC, you are a member, I step aside, or because you are PDP. No. Nigerians stink. This is criminality and terrorism.
And let's come together as a country.
Let's come together. There's no politician behind banditry. And terror, none, not one. It's like the logical movement on one side and the cultural one. None. I'm saying because this distraction is enough. There are some people that don't have anything to say about bandits, and they will come on air and tell us what will the politician gain by sponsoring bandits against his own people when he's also going to be a victim. Tell me what it is.
It's like riding on the back of a tiger.
I don't understand.
You find out that over time, like previous administration, especially in Katsina State, who tried to negotiate with bandits, what happened?
They got their hands burnt and they regret it.
So these guys are criminals and they should be dealt with.
Why you are making this argument about political or not political, looking for a phantom politician behind it that you cannot name? These guys will overrun this country and take it over. It's only then you now realize that the people you think are behind it are also victims like you. It's as simple as that. So we're taking our time to debunk this narrative as much as we can, because even the president is beginning to think that it is political. Then the question is, Mr. President, which political parties behind it? And who are the politicians behind it? Are they invisible? Are they mysterious? Why can't we name them? Why can't we?
So it's about time we call it what it is.
What it is?
It's pure criminality. And a serious nation deals with criminal based on the law. You deal with them. There are sufficient laws in our statute book to take care of this situation. So trying to, to me, it's mere subterfuge. When you say, it's politically motivated. The banditry increased because of 2027. It's not true.
You know, the question is that the northern part of the country where these issues actually are happening more, I tried to use it to discredit the Southern president. This same argument was made for Jonathan. This same argument.
But to me, it's not true. And like he said, Mr. President should be focused. When the president make statement like they are trying to scare me,
I don't understand.
I cannot be scared.
Who are those?
It doesn't make sense. You are the commander-in-chief, and you should have your hands on the handle of, the security situation in this country. When you are now saying they, you are creating an impression that there is a they that exists, and they are trying to scare you out of office.
Go after
and
the
if you know the day,
go after them.
Go after them. That statement is too loaded for a president to make. They are trying to scare me. We need to know they. And when you now see an average Nigerian riding on that day, then you can understand that the situation came, or the line was given from the highest authority in the land. But as far as I'm concerned, banditry, kidnapping is all criminality.
All right,
whether they have
Mal,
political affiliation or not, use the law. There are sufficient to deal with it and bring an end to it.
All right, Victor Hemba says, coup kidnapping in Plateau, the president promised CCTV. Kidnapping in Oyo, the president promised forest guards. The next kidnapping or the one in Kogi, now the president might promise electricity.
Well, it's funny, but it's the reality.
It's
the reality of the situation.
It's the reality.
You understand?
No coherent response to international crisis. Do you know what about the ordinary emergency security rule as we speak? You got the president declared a security emergency, not a state of emergency anyway. What has been the difference between when that declaration was made before, during, and after?
Nothing has changed.
And now we've given solutions here. We've given solutions.
And one of the solutions is that, look, vulnerable parts of the country, look for credible people within and arm them. Let the citizens
form the first line of defense
for their community.
For the community, but standard parties all over the world.
But you are not doing that. You are not
doing none of that.
You're not thinking about
They're not thinking about it. Our security chiefs are not thinking this way because they don't want a challenge to the monopoly of holding legitimate weapons or force. It is wrong. You are overwhelmed. You don't have the numbers. Nigeria is a 200 million population country with over 929,000 square kilometers of landmass. Yet our armed forces combined are less than 1 million. I'm a big charitable here. Less than 1 million. Meaning grossly inadequate. And we are saying, allow ex-servicemen in these communities to form the core of
the first line of defense for their own community.
And bring in other volunteers. But the defense is they don't carry AK-47. If you look at states like Zamfara, Borno, and Kogi, these are the three states that I know of where the governors are determined to fight terrorism and banditry, but they are limited. Why? There are forms like JTF in the north, in Borno. You have vigilante groups in Zamfara and in Kogi. They don't carry AK-47. They carry inferior weapons. That's what the law allows.
I see. I was reading
what the law allows.
I was reading a report that the Fulani terrorists is by an American institution, that the Fulani terrorists that are holding this country to ransom, they're about 30,000 in number. Whether that report is credible or not is left there. They're about 30,000. How many are we that 30,000 people, for instance, should be terrorizing? What makes a terrorist, a kidnapper, more powerful than me? It is because of the weapon he's carrying. Simple. I'll be as more powerful, or even not more, I'll be even more powerful than he is if I carry similar weapons.
Someone is recommending self-defense.
That's what I'm saying.
How do I defend myself? How do I defend myself without an appropriate weapon? That is the problem.
Organize it around community vigilante. And we have said it here temporarily. Recruit them into the civil defense. Civil defense for proper monitoring, but to make sure that nobody misbehaves with it. Make sure that the core of this group should be ex-servicemen that are already trained and experienced from these communities. Train them, deploy them back to the communities, issue them with that caliber of arms under the sponsorship, funding of state governments. So all these villages that set up would have been collapsed into this group. The Amotek to the southwest will collapse into the civil defense. But giving the right caliber of weapons, the day you make banditry highly risky and low in profitability, banditry will fizzle out naturally. But as long as bandits are coming to communities without any challenge from anybody, and we scare people and herd them like cattle into the forest, It was in the Ibadan forest reserves. Hand them into the forest like cattle and collect billions of naira as they are about to collect now.
You created a very profitable situation.
Okay, talking about profit, let's quickly jump on this because our guest is already standing by. CBN Vision 2028, cash no longer king. To onboard 50 million unbanked Nigerians, deploys AI fraud detection, but we're still paying ransoms in cash.
The problem is, let's not repeat the mistake we made in 2023.
Cashless.
We are in the world where there is cashless policy. I keep making this point. Cashlessness is a financial lifestyle that you willingly subscribe to if it is convenient for you, but don't ever rule out the use of cash to maintain a balanced financial ecosystem. Even in America, of all places, cash is still king till today, till this moment.
Even in China, cash is
still king. That's not a priority for us. What we want to see by the CBN is lower interest rates for businesses to try and breathe. What is the interest rate in China? Single digits. I'm sure it's less than 3%.
Those are the fundamental issues. And beyond that, do we have the infrastructure to sustain the so-called cashless policy?
It ruined lives.
Most of the kidnappings.
People died in hospitals.
Most of the kidnappings happening in Nigeria, Abdullah. Do you know how they collect cash? You understand, when you talk about cashless, for instance, what it indicates is that you are creating a digital footprint for all financial transactions. And we know that criminals are evading this digital footprint to be arrested and prosecuted. I know of some criminal gangs in Abuja who go around with ATM machine.
That's the POS.
POS machines. You understand? Automatic, not the bigger one, the POS terminal. And, they do light kidnapping. When they do light kidnapping, especially this one chance taxi driver thing, they take you somewhere, collect your ATM, and they tell you to be calling people to send money into your account. And they take your card and they are withdrawing the money and taking it to another account. And at the end of the day, such funds are not traced.
This was like let me shock you.
Criminal is a criminal.
You know what happened to victims of banditry during the cashless policy? It's your business. As difficult as it was to get cash, you will be there until your entire community raises that money. It's not their business. They're not in a hurry. It is you that is in a hurry, your family. So many people died in their custody because families could not raise the amount early enough. You know why? Nobody puts you in the house as an abductee. You sleep under the tree in the forest, under the rain, under the sun. I was the victim, so I can tell you this from my own experience. Then when they discovered that Naira and Vito together, you know what they did? That was when they switched gear from Naira to dollar. Those that were abducted from the train, if you remember, the train attack.
Kaduna.
It was dollars that they paid them to get rescued. So it's your business. If you do cashless, think you want to catch bandits, you go and change it to euro, pounds, and dollars and go and give it to them. It is your life that is at stake and your family. So no, the bandit is not worried. If it takes you 1 year to bring the money, it's your business.
So you're saying this is a futile exercise, CBN should rethink it?
I think it's not a priority. Let us work on our interest rates. Let's work on our foreign exchange management to bring the dollar at par.
Let's even look at bank charges. There are previous charges so that you at times they take the money is deducted from your account. You don't even know what it's for.
For me, that is
the multiplicity of charges is becoming unbearable and too much.
But we give kudos to the current management of the CBN. For one thing, they're taking politics away from CBN. At the time, it became a norm that the CBN governor was a politician.
Of course, he wanted to contest for the presidency.
We have seen some level of sanity return to the CBN. The CBN governor is largely aloof and invisible.
Which he ought to be.
Which ought to be.
Your policy should speak for you.
Simple.
Don't speak for yourself.
So to that extent, kudos to them. But we can generally also advise and look. Why this might be good is not really a priority. Let's not force something on us that nobody else has done in any part of the world and create problems for us, the kind of problems we witnessed. And coming from the CBN governor, this is what the irony. To come from the CBN governor of Bola Tinubu, the man who criticized that policy the most, I think it's a contradiction.
Anyway, I think the point is is financial inclusion. When we talk about
gradually.
Yeah, financial inclusion, the unbanked need to be banked. You need to capture more people into the financial net. So
how do they do that without this intervention?
That is why, you create a basket that makes it, if I don't want to be here, let me be here, let me be here. People talk about Kenya, for instance, where you have a mobile payment system that is very effective in PASA or whatever they call it. Look at the system, study it, what works.
But don't
make it compulsory. Don't make it seem as if it's a do or die affair.
Exactly.
What will work, will work. We have so many fintech who are effectively delivering financial solution to Nigeria. You should encourage them. You should put more policies in place that make them more efficient. The infrastructure that powers these financial services should be strengthened
and should evolve accordingly. Let's not rush it. I mean, that experience was
when you talk about, I paid for a services, recently with my bank app, and I didn't get value for it. I called my bank. You are talking about cashless. I called my bank. Look, I didn't get value for what I paid for. Till today, 3 days ago, my bank is yet to revert that transaction. They sent me a message that the funds has been reverted, but I didn't get anything. So these are some of the problems, that comes with, trying to go cashless overnight, without preparation, without putting the right infrastructure in place to drive the process. So it's a gradual thing. Do it gradually. Don't assail us with what you are doing. When Nigerians begin to feel it, we'll say kudos to the CBN.
So this is an interesting message to you, Dr. Maho. I do not know why they have sent this in, but Mike Abo from US says, maybe you would tell us if you have a cattle ranch in the adventure. Maho, can you please justify why cows are grazing around the presidential villa up to this moment? And I'm wondering if you...
Wike has apologized and took responsibility for it.
No, he said for national security reason. He can't prevent it.
He can't prevent?
He said so openly.
No, he apologized. I read his report.
He said, I watched him live.
Okay.
He said for national security, he said it's a matter of national security. I said,
that's cattle graze.
He said, no, you know the reason why. Wike now. Wike said so. I tried to do the needful, but some people said, you are honest. And this ties to the issue we've been discussing.
That speaks volumes.
It speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
So maybe he knows more than many of us know.
You know what? You are in Nigeria, you know. So it speaks volumes. And we cannot have this kind of system. Yes, I let me say this. I admire, and I said on the program before, I respect, in fact, I adore, I love the Fulani cattle breeder. So much. Because growing up, my favorite delicacy was Fura de Nono and Suya. So I grew to love the Fulani man who made this possible through his talent, his skill, his tenacity and discipline. He takes a lot of discipline to breed cattle. So the Fulani cattle breeder is one of the most exceptional gifts of nature to Nigeria and Africa at large.
And the Sahel, yes.
And this is why Nigeria, for instance, will not import beef from China. Thank God. So
we are exporting beef to China.
So I support
in fact, the Chinese see our beef as the tastiest in the world.
I support every effort to help the Fulani man to improve on this cattle breeding business. I support even the donation of allocation of land for grazing, but designated for grazing and ranching. Someone said ranching. Ranching is not a shop. Ranch is actually a grazing area. Yes. It's not as if it's a shop. I support every form of government support to both crop producers and livestock farmers alike. But laws must be enforced accordingly as well. If, for instance, there is a no open grazing law in FCT, it has to be enforced. But again, provide alternatives for them. What I'm saying this is, we must always make a distinction between a cattle breeder that is Fulani and those minority among them that are not significant.
But the statement, by Wike, says for national security reasons.
This is where the elites of the Fulanis in Nigeria gets it wrong all the time. Whenever they tie this noble profession, this noble cultural occupation, that even prophets of God practiced to criminality. You now tie the entire ethnic group to this criminal franchise. As allies, what you should be telling me is simple. Abuja has got very fertile, large land mass. Can you come out a place where this people can be moved into to have a concentration of ranches, grazing reserves, and all of that?
Mojid, the argument is...
But saying don't ban them completely, because if you do that, they'll become bandits.
The argument is... The argument by the naysayers is that, look, cattle rearing is a private business, like any other business. There's no need for you to call on excessive government support.
No, because of the food security aspect of it. So farmers, for instance, are giving free fertilizers, free land, and we know.
Free land?
Yes. Nobody sells land to farmers anyway. You know, if land, for example, is in the hands of the communities, they farm on their own land. What I'm saying is, for government-acquired land, there is nothing wrong with assisting people that produce food for purpose of food security. The same way I ask for subsidy on energy. I mean, anything has to do with food security.
Do you think that that will demystify the innuendos of insecurity tied?
No, it will not. No. I've always believed that people that are criminals, and they should be divorced from this no profession. I'm only saying how to improve the profession of these people. So when I see them running Abuja Street, I see them suffering, really. I see the cattle malnourished. And I'm saying it is in their own interest for them to move into areas outside of the city where they have large green vegetation, where they can be assisted to start this business while they add their own capital. That's what I'm saying. After in Abuja here, land were allocated, for instance, for housing estates, land were allocated for hospitals and all of that, and you pay your premium. It can be done for them. Allocate land to them, they pay the premium and all of that.
But at the end of the day, if there's a law against...
they're not mutually inclusive. You're not supposed to get in the city.
If there's a law against it, the minister of the FCT...
He's supposed to enforce it.
It behoves on him.
But look at the angle they came from now.
There is national security.
Sorry, Majid. I'm sorry, Dr. Maulehim.
The point I'm trying to make is this. The Fulani cattle breeder that is roaming the streets, he's not a criminal. If he was a criminal, he would have been in the street. He would have been in the forest somewhere abducting people. Therefore, he needs some level of assistance to enhance his trade. Just as every other citizen requires assistance, right? Therefore, for me, this assistance can be rendered while effectively banning open grazing. So rather than saying don't ban open grazing because they will turn criminals, why not assist them to become better at what they do? Because what they do also contributes to national food security. And so farmers, everyone that produces food must have support. In fact, food must be subsidized from planting to harvesting to clearing to consumption. So it's the same thing with livestock as well. They're all farmers. So the point I'm simply trying to make is you must only make a distinction between a Fulani cattle breeder and a Fulani bandit. A Fulani bandit is not a cattle breeder. He's herding human beings for a living. He's rustling cattle for a living. He's not in this category. The only thing is he has the skill, but he has one rogue. So it's like an auto mechanic who no longer fixes cars, but jacks cars, hijacks cars. He's an auto mechanic, yes, but he's no longer fixing cars. His role is to go and demobilize cars where he sees it, where he has the skill to mobilize vehicles. So I'm saying that rather than make the argument by some elites, which now made our minister Armstrong, but not able to enforce this law, you simply ask for assistance to transit from this one to something that is better. But don't justify it with national security, because if you do that, it means you're now tying the entire ethnic group and this livelihood to criminality.
And that's where Wiki may have gotten that wrong.
Exactly.
Dr. Mahal, just as we leave.
Well, Mojid has said this all, and it sounds very convincing. But the point I want to make is this. When you violate the law, when you break the law, you have to bear the consequences. You are no longer innocent when you know the law. And the minister's statement seems to give a blanket cover to what is happening. To me, when you drive through Federal Secretariat and you see cattle roaming the street of Abuja, it's an embarrassment to us as a nation. And the minister needs to, beyond throwing his hands up helplessly and attributing national security concern to it, he needs to do something concrete to say, look, I've provided XYZ for them to be able to take care of their cattle. I've provided this land, I've given them everything they want. And now I want to implement the law to the latter, instead of seeing cattle everywhere roaming the streets of Abuja. It's an eyesore. It doesn't augur well for a first-class capital like Abuja that we want to build. So action needs to be taken and not throw our hands in the air as if we are helpless as a nation.
And, you know, I mean, a lot of people say here that whatever happened, who brought in Fulani militia to Nigeria, and that's Gerald Aronchukwu talking back. Someone replied, APC brought bandits and Fulani militia to Nigeria. Others say, no, they did not. They have been here pre-existence. And, you know, there's this back and forth on who, what, where, and how.
But the funny thing is that 8 years of Buhari, he tried to address the problem, but nothing was achieved.
But Tinubu is APC. So if they are not about it, how come they cannot fight what they brought in? And they don't know who to arrest. Let's start taking straight as a people. Because sometimes the people like business, you see in window, false information, theory, leads an entire country astray.
Absolutely.
You see, this is why I will forever respect two governors in Nigeria in the South, two governors. Governor of Enugu State, Peter Mbah, and Governor of Anambra State,
Soludo, yes.
You know what these two gentlemen did in the Southeast? They saved the Southeast Indigo from themselves with the issue of Biafra. They decided not to descend to the level of their people and for political gains, just flow along and benefit. No. They decided to take a stand to say, look, hey, let us challenge this orthodoxy, this belief system, upon which these miscreants rode and visited havoc on this region. That's why Soludo continues till today now to make sure that anything that looks like solidarity with Nnamdi Kanu's or approach kind of Biafra agitation is killed psychologically, emotionally, and sentimentally. He has imposed a fine recently, 20 million naira. If you don't open your shop in main market on Monday, you have to pay 20 million naira fine. What is he trying to do? He's trying to remove the last vestiges, reorientate the people to say, look, we have the right to self-determination, but we have taken a wrong path that has brought self-destruction upon us. Therefore, we must renounce this thing first, regain our common sense, regain our consciousness, and now know how to agitate for this same thing better in the future, but no longer today. So you need this kind of leadership across the country to be able to bring people back.
All right.
To recording. But if you continue to try on conspiracy theories, you keep leading people into
and you never move forward beyond the narrative.
Exactly. You get the shadows.
All right, that's quite. We had a bucket full of conversations here, even on the social media here. There's a back and forth and, gnashing of teeth. Someone says our greatest, the football lifter says our greatest undoing is these fights amongst us. And he's referring to them right there on the social media YouTube handle. In the name of tribe, it is the strongest weapon these few politicians are using against us Nigerians. And if you visit, you could see the back and forth, ethnic rivalry and all of that. And indeed, we are one Nigeria. And if you do want Nigeria to work, you must speak from a place of information and a place of information.
I visited Enugu State for Salah.
But just so you know, Kakaaki Social will be coming up shortly in the moment. So
you visited Enugu State for Salah.
Went for a wedding, and Salah happened the next day or two. So we tried to go to get some things for our bariga. And we asked the nearest taxi driver, where can we get some of this? They said there's a place called Amausa in Enugu. My day went there. The house people met there. We are not ready to go to Kano for Salah. This is their home. The younger ones are now looking more like their Igbo brothers. While I understand that the Igbo people of Enugu learned Hausa language from this community. And the official language in that community was Igbo. So the Hausa speak Igbo, the Igbo speak Hausa. Flawlessly. They were at home, and they told us that for generations,
like that.
If you ask this Hausa man where he comes from today, he won't tell you Jigawa, he won't tell you Kaduna, he will tell you Enugu State. It's fully thriving. And then I saw a Fulani cattle colony somewhere in Enugu State. But the major economy of Oba area of the Nsukka axis of Enugu State is cattle breeding. The Fulani man was asked, where are you from? He pointed to the nearest village there. I'm from this village. My dear, he's Igbo. Imagine the Fulani man speaking Igbo now. He gives you that soft touch. He softens the language. The Igbo he was speaking was flawless. He was describing from one village to the other. He was being asked direction anyway. Where I want to get to direction, how do I follow? The way this one was describing with flawless Igbo was a Fulani man, a cattle breeder. That is the beauty of Nigeria.
Anyway, cattle, for me, we've always seen cattle as a problem. But it's an economy. We can actually build an economy around it that thrives. And we can always build community around it. That try without rancor and all this bitterness around it.
It reminds me of this community, sorry to come in here, just to buttress what he's saying, in Imo State, in Okigwe, where I come from. It's called Lokbanta. Now, when you get to Lokbanta, it's a cattle breeding community. They are married to young Igbo women, and all their children speak Igbo. They speak Fulani, they speak Hausa. Some of them even speak Arabic, funny enough. So, and they live peacefully, and have been moved to places where they can have ranches. But then the interpretation, I think, is more from the people and the coloration.
At times it's politics. The mistake of statement is making. I pity them. I pity him and others like him. We are the one giving this ethnic group the worst of images, not us.
That's Mr. Wike.
Calling out to the criminals among them. It is you. Because we are lumping, look, you are lumping both these hardworking ones, these patriotic ones, but they are brethren that are criminals. Those are say perfect criminals. You bring it and lump it to these ones.
And as journalists, I think we should tell more stories like this.
Yes.
To show that, look, the Fulani, the cattle herders, they are not the image that they are being given by certain people. Like he mentioned, Gumi, who will say that they went into banditry and kidnapping because their cattle were rustled. It's not a reflection of
the entire...
It's like that the most pepper dealer went into a robbery because his shop was boggled. How do you defend that one? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
No. I remember in Kano, at the time in Kano,
there's no logic.
That some children were missing. And we were traced to the southeast. And then this corner, there was a syndicate of people on the southeast that were involved in this criminal activity. You know what the Igbo community did in Kano? They issued a statement that, look, first and foremost, they denounce this crime, and they called the authorities to arrest the people involved and prosecute them.
Not to use the crime to rob
and now justify and see because they lost their job, otherwise they're not stealing human beings. No, you don't do that.
All right, let's call it a wrap with that, because I'm definitely sure the Kakaaki social fans are hanging on the edge and wondering, where is she? So we want to say thank you for bearing with us. Isaac Oyedele says there is truth, there is correction, there is connection between the breeders, and also there are the criminals who are also kidnapping and killing people across Nigeria. There are the bad cattle breeders, and there are the good ones. But he says there are videos where there are breeders who went to people's farms and destroyed their crops.
Those are terrorists.
That's also evident. And Maji just said
those
they
are
terrorists. Classified parties.
But no, those that are not going to bush farms. Those that are just breeding cattle for consumption.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been an exhaustive, insightful conversation. A little bit, controversial, but what can we say? That's what we get here. And thank you for sending in your reports. I call it reports because some of you were literally sending us news items online, but thank you for your feedback. So we take a quick break and jump right into Kakaaki Social after this break. Stay with us.
Bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT on air, online, online. The issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
Governments seem to be incapable of protecting the scheming.
This is not a period we should slip our go. Every part of this country is important.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Hello, everyone. This is Kakaaki Social. Thank you so much for holding on. I am Onoshorena Obozege. Let's quickly see what's going on the space of social media. We have former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, that is saying the recent abduction of pupils and teachers in Oyo State may have been orchestrated to embarrass President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Fayose, while reacting to the incident, said that sometimes he believes the abduction was arranged by elements within the Oyo State government as a means to blackmail the president.
I have strong belief, I may be wrong, that this sometimes can be orchestrated. The governor of Oyo State had his nomination, the nomination of his candidate in the face of this abduction. He did not take any action. No steps were taken. It was after all those nominations that he went to the family to visit them, that he brought somebody out, started crying, the husband of one of the women. It is sad. I can sometimes believe that this was orchestrated in a way, I'm not saying totally, by the government of Oyo State to blackmail President Tinubu in a way.
All right, let's see how you're reacting to this. We cross over to X. Okafor says, okay, Mr. Fayose, who orchestrated the school abductions in Niger State, Borno, and elsewhere? Did their respective governors do it to blackmail President Tinubu, or did the federal government stage them to blackmail itself? Also, in reaction, Dada says, this is not the time to trade blame. The priority should be rescuing the kidnapped victims. The Oyo State government and the federal government must work together and coordinate efforts to ensure their safe return. More thoughts on this one still coming from X. We have another user there. Truly Niger says, Fayose, how much Tinubu or Wike don't give you to be making this allegation against Makinde? Look, there is gold, oh. And yeah, one more reaction. Nigeria Youth for Education says Fayose will certainly go scot-free for making this inciting statement. But let another Nigerian say this, that's when the DSS remembered national security. This statement is weighty. Let's wait for Governor Makinde's response. Those are the thoughts right there. Also, we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that has come under criticism on social media after attending and sharing highlights from the Nigerian Navy's 70th anniversary celebration in Lagos State, while pupils and teachers abducted from schools in Oyo State remain in captivity. At the event, the president charged the Navy to modernize Nigeria's maritime defense architecture and strengthen effort against security threat in the nation's waterways. Now, he took to his X handle to share pictures that you're seeing right now from the occasion, 4 of them. And let's see what he wrote about while he was sharing these pictures. He simply said, commemorating 70 years of the Nigerian Navy. At this point, we cross over to his comment section to see how you're reacting to these pictures and the news of him being there. Engineer Shaibu says, you just don't know when to stop politicking, do you? Flags should be lowered at all events, suspended until insecurity is mitigated for now. Why can't you have sense for once? Another reaction, still from his comment section, Sharp Spirit, attaching this meme, says, use the same energy, rescue all your kidnapped Oyo State kidnapped school children and teachers. Those children deserve to live. Secure their future now, Mr. President. And we have Beat Boy says, does a country in turmoil celebrate? Does the country with 46 persons kidnapped celebrate? Make a post about sending forest guards after 20 days. Same day, celebrate. It was yesterday the president put out that post that he has sent out 1,000 guards idea and plans. For Priscilla, it says, I think you have achieved your childhood dreams to become president. Thank you for your awful service, but it is time to leave the seat, sir. We are tired of your government. Prissy Hits says right there. But we have concerned citizens, civil society groups, and residents of Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, that have taken to the street in protest of this abduction. Earlier, we also had schools shut down in the area, and they are protesting that it is time for the children and the teachers to be back home. The protesters carrying placards with different inscriptions marched through major roads within the city, calling on government security agencies to take urgent steps towards securing the release of the victims. In Ibadan, public primary and secondary schools across Oyo State also remained closed on Monday as students were directed to stay at home in solidarity with families of pupils and teachers who are still in abduction. The shutdown follows a protest earlier on Monday at the Agodi Secretariat in Ibadan, where youth demanded urgent government action to secure the release of the victim. And amid growing concern over insecurity and recent school abductions, some Nigerians have taken to social media to express nostalgia for former First Lady, Lady Patience Jonathan, recalling her emotional reactions to kidnappings that occurred during the administration of her husband, President Goodluck Jonathan. Many users have shared clips and memories of Patience Jonathan publicly expressing concern for abduction and abducted children, describing her as a compassionate and empathetic during periods of national grief. They are missing her reign. One of those clips is a viral There Is God. My
sisters, if your child lost, will you stay and keep quiet? Will you people stay and keep quiet? The presidency now is calling you, come, I want to help you. You don't want to appear. Will you agree? No. Now the first lady is calling you, come, I want to help you. Come to find your child, your missing child. Will you keep quiet? Child, there is God, oh. There is God, oh. The blood we are sharing, there is God, oh. There is God, oh. There is God, oh. There is God, oh.
All right, netizens are missing her badly. In reaction to this, Chido Clinton says the only First Lady Nigeria has ever truly produced. She was indeed a mother to everyone. Sadly, many mocked her when she shed tears over the kidnapping of Chibok schoolgirls. Today, many Nigerians look back and miss her compassion, empathy, and genuine concern for the people. Happy New Month. Another user, Chuko Africana, says, Shebi all of us use and do sound for TikTok that year. Now, Otilo, if he touch Moses, he don't touch the Israelite. Another reaction says, we all trivialize her reaction then. 12 years later, we realize she reacted out of genuine empathy. And more reaction to this one coming from X as well. We have this user says, also, don't let some fake and crocodile tears fool you. She walked away from Aso Rock with $15 million. Sad that many of you sing the praise of the same people that wrecked Nigeria. And for Kai, it says this family genuinely loves Nigeria. That's why they left quietly. It will only take love for one Nigeria, for one's country to do what they did. But guess what? Nigerians being Nigeria made fun of it, called them weak. Meanwhile, we have wife of Nigeria's president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, that has highlighted her achievement and described herself as a woman of many firsts, winning senatorial elections back-to-back and committed to improving the lives of Nigerians through various intervention programs. Her remarks come amid growing social media concerns and discussions, comparing her public engagement with those of former First Lady Patience Jonathan, particularly on issues of empathy and responses to national tragedies. She said she was going to reel them out after 2027, but since she's been asked this question in this interview, here you go.
2027, but you now putting me on the spot. I've run elections, not once, not twice, thrice. The first woman to be in the Senate for 3 terms. I don't sing my praise, but I'm a silent worker. I'm not somebody who likes to say I'm in the press today, but I work hard. And if I tell you I work 7 days a week, I connect with the grassroots. And if you come and don't connect with the grassroots, and I will say, hit my chest today, I will still be the only woman who has ever done town hall meeting every quarter.
All right, let's bring you in, see how you're reacting to this, she said. For Benny, it says, coming from someone the husband single-handedly decides who becomes the next governor of the state, she will always be picking the ticket unopposed. Abishiti say we hold feeding bottles for hands as we watch this phony video. It's funny to Benny. Let's see more thought. Labalingo says, does she even know a bunch of kids and mothers are languishing in the bush right now, abducted by bandits? Isn't this the very political opportunity she needs to prove herself? Isn't this a type of occasion a first lady should rise up to? Questions and questioned. In another reaction coming from X as well, Peacemaker of Hall says, so what did you achieve as a senator after 3 tenures? Let's not forget it was your husband's influence that put you there, not your works or experiences. For Big Cares, it says the contrast here is tragic. A supposed mother celebrating personal political milestones on camera while families are crying for their stolen children. If the work is truly silent, let it manifest in the secure rescue of those kids. That's what Big Cares is saying in reaction to that. Now we'll talk some politics. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has come for Peter Obi, who is the presidential candidate of the NDC come 2027. He's accusing him of avoiding political struggles by frequently changing political platforms. Wike contrasted Obi's movement across political platforms and parties with his decision to remain in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, despite internal challenges. He argued that genuine leaders confront difficulties rather than walk away from them, saying politics requires resilience and commitment. I know this food is ready, come and chop politics that Obi is playing.
It will be nice. Not exactly. Not good. I don't want to play. This country, there are challenges. You must have the capacity to face those challenges. You know when you have one problem, oh, this problem is too much, let me move to social plan. Look, I want you saw in PDP, all the governors. Is that right? Then I will not leave this party. They have money. Yeah. No money.
All All right, let's see how you're reacting to that. Good News says, because he's one of the few Nigerian politicians who understand that political leadership is about serving the people and you necessarily do not have to struggle for it, especially when the people love and clamor for you. That's something the likes of Wike wish they had. And Balatik says, never ever underrate how Peter Obi defeated Tinubu's efforts to keep him out of the ballot. The fact that Peter Obi defeated him despite his power of incumbency should tell you the kind of man Obi is. He doesn't answer Okute for no reason. Tinubu will attempt to rig 2027, but Obi will defeat him again, being more prepared this time and supported by most Nigerians. Well, he went on to campaign also, but let's bring in another user at this point. Concerned Nigerian says, and why should he stain his white? You confirmed how Atiku gave $30,000 to each delegate, and Dele Momodu confirmed that you also bribed, but that Atiku outbribed you. Is that what you wanted Peter Obi to be involved in? Thank you for letting the world know that Peter Obi does not like to bribe anyone. This is a huge compliment. And yes, for Mr. Papito, he says Peter Obi said he won't respond to anyone who isn't a presidential candidate. Until date, he has kept to the promise. This is the 5th time Wike is talking about Peter Obi, and for once, Obi hasn't given him a single reply. Isn't it obvious for Wike that he is with that for you? All right, everyone, that's the much time would allow us this morning. Thanks a bunch for being a part of Kakaaki Social this morning. I'm Rena OBO, and we are AIT_online. The program has not ended. Do well to stay with us. See you tomorrow.
Out you come. With the shortage of brand new aircraft delivery across the world, Emirates decided to go it alone and refurbish over 200 of our existing planes at our own engineering facility. This makes it the largest retrofit program on the planet. For our customers, it means even greater consistency of a world-class product.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need her.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer, abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point, sir. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as your banker. Progress na small wins wey dey carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. No go Bible.
Victor, they use money point.
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point made for your progress.
Out you come. With the shortage of brand new aircraft delivery across the world, Emirates decided to go it alone and refurbish over 200 of our existing planes at our own engineering facility. This makes it the largest retrofit program on the planet. For our customers, it means even greater consistency of a world-class product. Out you come. With the shortage of brand new aircraft delivery across the world, Emirates decided to go it alone and refurbish over 200 of our existing planes at our own engineering facility. This makes it the largest retrofit program on the planet. For our customers, it means even greater consistency of a world-class product.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
Well, thank you for staying with us. It's now time for us to bring you our second talking point. When we started, we told you we would be getting some feedback on the protests happening in Oyo State. We do have Shola Taiwo at the protest of the continued captivity of students and teachers from their tax schools in Oyo State. But he's sitting by to just bring us up to speed on that. All right, so I think I'm just being told that he's not yet on standby for that, but we would be looking forward to that because we really do need to have an update on what's happening in Oyo State and the areas around him. But let's look at the conversation on the NDC update, because a lot of people saw the lead stories this morning talking about the rhetorics from the SVT minister that the NDC and the ADC are there to mislead people, and some of the rhetorics he used were not quite complimentary. However, we're looking now at having this conversation on the NDC update since their primaries and after their primaries. Habibu Salim Muhammad, spokesperson, Kwakwansia Movement, is joining us virtually to look at this. Good morning. Good morning, Habibu. If you can hear me, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much. So let me begin from maybe yesterday from Senator Kwakwanso, who came out to, of course, I don't know if you saw the lead stories this morning, to dismiss stories alleging plans of your party to stage protests of any kind against the current wave of insecurity in the country. Is the party saying that there is no iota of truth to this?
Yeah, I think beyond leading the party, directly our national leader, Senator Rabi Musa Gonkoso, made it very clear that we are not actually in support of any action that will bring some sort of misunderstanding, disruptions of lives and properties, actions that are not actually going to be under guidance or control, which we believe will lead to more chaos. His position has never been such that will support such an action. He believes in constructive arguments, constructive decisions, and also believe that Nigerians are watching every bit of the blood that is being shed, every effect of insecurity and chaos, and believe that Nigerians will do well to make sure that a reasonable government, responsible one, will be put in place through the ballot box. And I think that is the most important message. People should not actually engage themselves into issues that they do not have control over and which they cannot even predict the consequences. But we are very sure that Nigerians can rise through the ballot box and ensure that a responsible government is in place that will tackle this security issue and make sure that Nigeria is safe and is better in all ramifications.
All right, but one would also look at it differently to say that, you know, a protest is a human right and people are allowed to engage freedom of association, freedom of expression, whether politically binded or not. And, you know, isn't this conscriptive, you know, for your party to say that people should not protest against insecurity? I mean, look at what's already happening across the state. The Nigerian Union of Teachers are already out demanding that these children and these teachers be rescued. Several other civil society organizations, these are Nigerians, and we seem to understand that your party is pro-Nigeria.
Well, we also agree that it is within the Nigerians' right to actually protest, you understand, demonstrate, and actually express their grievances on issues. But when we look at the Nigerian situation, we also look at the ability or inability of the government to provide essentially what is required to have a peaceful, you understand, protest without even inducing, because in some instances you allow things to degenerate to such a level where the actual issue or reason for that protest is being defeated. You understand? And we know this is an election period where any action, you understand, may stimulate a kind of response or even a plan from other elements that will hijack that particular protest and also turn it into a kind of a chaos, trying to blame actually the conveners of that particular protest or trying to actually bring in issues that will change the narratives and actually maybe become an issue that harm the citizens generally. So we are not in any way saying that Nigerians are actually not free to protest, express their grievances, and there are a lot of different fora of which people will choose to do so. Some will be on the televisions, on the radio, some will hide their opinions using different means, but the prevailing circumstances now is not as such that will allow a political party or a political figure to lead a protest which could be hijacked by hooligans or which could be hijacked also by elements even within the government to actually use it and actually create more chaos than what it seeks to actually protect. I think the biggest protest for security, for hunger, for all the misrules, for the deadly policies of this particular government, the biggest protest will come off when the Nigerian chooses to work very hard to make sure that they remove this government through the ballot box. And that is exactly what we're saying. We also enjoin Nigerians to use available legitimate means actually to protest, to bring into the fore the roads within this country, and also to bring it to the fore even the level of that insecurity or the problem they so suffer, so that people will understand the gravity of the situation at hand. But as a party, we cannot now lead any protest because we know the situation, we know the Nigeria that we are, we know the kind of the people that we are dealing with, and we know definitely they would want to use that opportunity to actually rub salt actually in the wounds by maybe making that particular protest as an avenue also to exert kind of the injury to Nigerians more.
All right, so I hear you. For the sake of, national security and, maintaining order, but where does your party stand on insecurity concretely?
Well, I think this is something that all Nigerians believe that the country presently, you understand, requires a serious and a very responsible government to tackle the level of the insecurity we have. We have an insecurity at all levels, and it is so complex that at every layer, you talk of kidnapping, you talk of the communal clashes, you talk of banditry, you talk of host of so many things that Nigeria is being faced with. We have 4 borders. You understand, we do not have a security architecture that is even aware of the level of the security challenges we have in this country. We have a security architecture that is only kind of not proactive, rather in defensive, you understand, and not even truly knowing when someone will strike and when what will happen and where, to such a level that even petty things now become normal. You understand? Snatching phones, local robbery now even become normal, become issues that people do not truly even bother about, because the government do not even look at it as insecurity. And even the major ones, there is really nothing the government is doing to actually tackle it, because they are more concerned with exactly how to win election, how to muzzle oppositions. They are putting their resources, all the security architecture, in trying to track people that abuses them online, instead of tracking people that actually are in the bush arranging or planning attacks on innocent Nigerians. They are more concerned with providing BIPs with the security sector that will protect them against their people that wanted to express their grievances locally within their own communities. So they are more concerned just about themselves, not about the true situations on the ground. They don't have the kind of local intelligence that will allow even the local police to actually process. So everybody is protecting themselves. Even the police are just trying to protect themselves. So this is a kind of the chaotic situation that Nigeria has gotten itself into. And if an urgent, you understand, decisions are not taken to curtail all those excesses, I don't know exactly when or where the Nigeria will truly find itself. So our party has this belief that the most important thing we have to put in place is the issue of security of both the lives and the properties of Nigerians, as well as education, which we believe will free and allow people to think rationally, you understand, and only discover themselves and their own potential. That's the only way this country will get out of this poverty line. That is the only way the country will get out of the security entanglement.
All right, we hear you. So let's go straight to some party affairs, because your party says that there are fake results making its way around the social media, and of course about the primaries conducted last Thursday and Friday. You say the results are fake. So please tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I think our party is trying to ensure the level of discipline within the party itself, and as such, it was made clear to all that after the whole primaries and the result taken to headquarters, it is the party that will release the authentic list of all the candidates, and as such, any other list flying around, maybe trying to create confusions, or maybe from any other aggrieved persons, you understand, should be regarded as the authentic list of all the candidates of all the respective positions will be released to media and to the general public as soon as the party concluded all it sorted out all issues, you understand, and also ready to present the candidate to the public. So that was why there is a need for that announcement, for people to be aware that it's not everything that they have seen on the social media they should build on, because this is a party that wanted to actually play by the rules established for itself.
All right, but in terms of playing by the rules, I mean, we saw certain videos on social media as well, where we saw perhaps aggrieved party members who perhaps did not agree with the processes of the primaries. Some alleged that they tore their party membership cards. Some also said that the FCT Senate aspirant, Aisha Yesufu, of course, you've listened to her on live TV severally, and she's come out to say that the processes were flawed, even though that the party unity seems to be more important, but that the system in itself that produced those primaries seems to be flawed. And this is an active, vociferous member of the Obi movement, and also part of the NDC coalition as a party. Now, isn't that also speaking to perhaps the lack of internal party mechanism in terms of resolving perhaps pre-primary issues and negotiations and post? Because I've heard you say that the results flying around, the utterances are fake, but these are indices that have been shown to the public in real time. Do you also disagree with that?
Well, I think we are very practical people. You understand? We believe that any process that involves millions of people. You understand? Most likely, or at certain point, there must be some certain disagreement. Maybe you might point even out some people that are saddled with responsibility of conducting those primaries might have their issues here and there. And I think that is why the party decided, in the interest of fairness, in the interest of, you understand, the unity of the party itself, prefer to make sure that they have received all complaints and maybe make amends where necessary. You understand, before issues are made, public, or rather to the media generally. But we have to accept the fact that no primary election, no context at all that will not actually, for those people that are not maybe probably happy with what happened, or one or two problem here and there. But I assure you, as the party, we are working very hard to make sure that we learn from few issues or few incidences, make amends where it is necessary, and also prepare to do better. You understand? Remember, this is relatively a very new party, and at the same time, trying its best to make sure that we avoid issues that will actually degenerate into something that will not actually favor the party's progress or what have you. But we are people that are practical, so many people are involved, so many interests is there, and necessarily some people may crowd file whether there is none, and also there are people who will have genuine reason to complain. And I believe the party is looking into all of this and also trying to find ways to make sure that at least those issues are sorted out and Nigeria are presented with candidates readily available to challenge the present security and other issues on the ground.
All right, so I'm raising that because it's also raising issues of credibility and transparency for a coalition that is supposed to be the alternative choice for Nigerians. It can also be daunting on perception. And maybe that also speaks to the roadmap ahead of you and your party in 2027, because she, in the press release she sent out to the media, she said, I contested to the conclusion of the primaries, but a flawed process produced a different outcome, one I consider procedurally compromised. Right? And then she said, I choose in the interest of the party unity and the larger national project to accept the outcome rather than pursue a protracted dispute. So the key words there for a lot of Nigerians are a flawed process that produced a different outcome and one that is considered procedurally compromised. Now, these are often the rhetorics we see in political parties, and the NDC is being portrayed as one to give an alternative, credible, integral, inclusive platform for Nigerians to contest, regardless of gender or status quo. Do you not think this already casts some aspersion on the party NDC as itself as it goes into 2027 election? How do you hope to manage the outcomes of all of these perceptions?
Well, I think, I believe in everything there should be a yardstick and there should be a minimum and maximal level of measurement. You understand? When, like I told you, a party that runs a primary across the entire nation, and you have just a handful of complaints here and there that are not up to a level where they can be measured, you understand, to give some sort of generic expression of the situation. I believe that is not going to be a kind of a dent on the party. Like I told you, ability of even the party, also of the players to even accept where there are problems and trying to work on that particular problem is also something that we should also appreciate. You know, we are not party of pretenders. We are not people that will see wrong and say it's right simply because we just have to do this. But we take actions like when she did. She accepted the fact that, or rather she expressed the fact that she's not happy with the way things happened, you understand? And at the same time, she accepted the fact that she is going to continue to work with the party. Like I told you, it's not a generic thing. It's just something that happens, maybe instances here and there. But in the whole, you cannot actually give it that semblance of the fact that this is where the party intended to.
Okay, so are
actually
so are the generality of the party members happy with the way things turned out in the primaries?
Well, I believe we are. You know, there are a lot of states, a lot of places, and a lot of areas where you do not have a single complaint because some have agreed to go on consensus, some actually partake into the primaries, depending on whatever they so agreed with. You understand? They come out clean, and so many people accepted the results without questions about the process or even about the contestant involved. So I believe, like I told you, it's not something generic. It's just something that we believe. It does happen because of the number of the people involved, because of the stake in the context, and because of probably sometimes the context in the particular area. But I tell you, generally, we have a hitch-free kind of a primary, and we believe a majority of the outcome is accepted by a lot of, or rather, the majority of the people involved. And as such, incident 1 or 2 or 3 incidents cannot actually dent a process that is widely accepted by a generality of the people.
All right, so when are the primaries, official primary results to be released, and what next for the NDC after this?
Like I told you, as soon as the national headquarters sorted some of the issues, maybe take decisions on some of the issues that are raised, and finally have a compiled list, it will be released to the public. After which also other issues will continue to be rolled out that will ensure Nigerians have an opportunity to first look into the candidates themselves, and also a very well articulated and also issue-based campaign will be rolled out for Nigerians to see, unlike what is happening with other political parties whose intention is to continue to attack candidates rather than speak to the issues. And I can see other political parties are more concerned with the happening in NDC rather than even the happenings within their own political parties. They believe more in attacking our candidates. They believe more in trying to cast aspirations on them. They believe more in doing that than even looking at the economy, than looking at the security, than looking at other aspects of the Nigerian lives that is being actually in a tattered situation as it is. So I assure you, we are going to run an issue-based campaign. We are going to actually give Nigerians an alternative for them to be able to choose, an alternative for them to be able to even interrogate our own policies and what have you. And thank God, I tell you, our candidates have a lot to show. And
Habibu, thank you so much. Thank you.
To actually provide for Nigerians.
Thank you. I'm really glad and gratified that you were able to end on that stuff. But all the best ahead of your party's intentions. But like they say, politics is a game of interest. And if you pose a threat to any party, they will try to demystify you or dismantle you if they can. So it's not a surprise that, you know, you have that coming to the ADC, the NDC or the ADC as we speak. Habibu Salih Mohammed, spokesperson for Kwanzaa Movement. Thank you so much for joining us from Kano.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. All right, and that political talk and engagement brings us right here to where we say tulu and goodbye. Thank you for staying with me this morning. I hate to leave you, but I love you still. My name is Adora Sidney Jack. See you again soon. Goodbye and have a lovely day.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
Those that is qualified, first come, first serve. So I will take in the list from number 1 to the last.
The excitement resonated across tertiary institutions nationwide as beneficiaries expressed joy and gratitude for the timely intervention.
At first, when I applied for the Superdec bursary payment, I was not expecting that huge amount of money. At first, I thought it's just normal student bursary that everybody applied.
Beg your pardon?
I am not in the mood to cook this morning. As a matter of fact, I might not be in the mood to cook until further notice. But you got home from work early enough to have rested now.
I'm not in the mood for conjugal duties tonight, Stephanie.
What the heck does that even mean?
I think I look great, Mom. Look at me. You don't look great. You actually look like a top wine tapper. If you were a man, would you toast yourself? Look, what kind of trouser is this one? A smart man knows that a woman is way beyond her physical appearance.
Men are attracted by what they see.
I was sure I heard them talking about me because I heard my name.
So did you bother asking them what they were talking about? You?
I did. Victor said yes, and Edward said no. I followed Edward to his office to inquire further, and he said they were not talking about me.
A very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Environment Today on Africa Independent Television. It's your program where we x-ray environmental and public health issues that confront you and I daily. My name is Nkoli Omodu, your regular host of the show.
For most of our history, humans lived in harmony with nature.
But we have shared in the balance, exploiting our planet for product and wealth.
Creating a climate catastrophe, driving species to extinction, and polluting our land, sea, and air.